boy. This is one of the best fights on the 2025 calendar for sure. We've got Shakur Stevenson, 23 wins and 0 losses, defending his WBC lightweight title against William Zepeda, 33 wins and 0 losses. This is a part of a really good Riyadh season fight card. It's taking place at Louis Armstrong Stadium in Queens. This is like a big deal, bringing boxing to Queens. Usually it would be at MSG or something. But this is a really good fight card, and the headliner, the main fight that's been billed like at the front, has been Edgar Berlanga versus Hamza Shiraz. But the best fight and the highest profile, highest skill, with the most accomplished, at least with 3 division champion Shakur Stevenson, is Shakur Stevenson defending his belt against William Zepeda, undefeated versus undefeated. The style clash couldn't be any more drastic. This is just something that us boxing fans have to see in the lightweight division. Now, I was surprised when I checked the odds and saw Shakur Stevenson at a -1,000. They're making him a 10-1 favorite against William Zepeda. William Zepeda is like a +750. Look, I get that Shakur Stevenson has like the really good round winning style, but he's fighting William Zepeda, who he admits is a punching machine. William Zepeda is absolutely one of these guys where if you are not able to back him up or do something to reduce that volume, he's gonna drown you with activity, and he will beat the hell out of you, as much to the body as up top. And yeah, Shakur Stevenson, between the two, is the 3 division champion, even though like at featherweight, he won it in a vacant title fight against Joet Gonzalez. So it's not like he was just beating all the best at 126, but he did earn a title there. He obviously earned a title at 130. His best win was against Oscar Valdez, who at the time was undefeated. He defended it successfully a couple times. He lost it on the scale before his fight against Robson Conceição, ended up beating Conceição via decision, and then he moved up to lightweight, where he got off to a hot start. A lot of people don't remember how excited they were after he just destroyed Shuhei Yoshino, who had, some pretty good wins. He stopped Masayoshi Nakatani. Remember the Nakatani that gave Teofimo Lopez problems and later got stopped by Lomachenko? Yoshino beat that guy. And then Shakur Stevenson just wiped the floor, basically just completely outclassed, and then stopped Yoshino. So he got off to a pretty good start at lightweight. But after that, his fights left a lot to be desired. He won them all. I mean, one of them was very close. Could have gone either way because of how non-eventful it was. That was the one against Edwin De Los Santos, who pretty much just suffered Keyshawn Davis blowing weight and that fight being blown up, right? It didn't happen. So De Los Santos still hasn't fought once since that Shakur Stevenson fight, where Stevenson's fought twice, and this is about to be his 3rd fight after that terrible fight against Edwin De Los Santos. But Shakur Stevenson, for a few years now, has kind of been in some people's top 10 pound for pound, like somewhere in that 8 to 10 on a lot of lists. I don't know if he's still on some of those lists, but like when he won those back-to-back fights against Jamel Herring, then Oscar Valdez, yeah, he entered a lot of people's top 10 pound for pound. But with his fight against Edwin De Los Santos, then his decision win against Artem Harutyunyan, who gave Frank Martin a really tough fight, as well as some of Shakur's earlier fights. I mean, there are fights peppered in that fight-by-fight history where Shakur Stevenson has made it clear by the 4th, 5th round that this guy can't do anything with him, but he doesn't then put his foot on the gas to do a lot of damage and to eventually stop a lot of these opponents. He does break a lot of them down and stop a lot of them, but sometimes he's just more or less looking like he's in cruise control. And I feel like that has kind of become his reputation over time, where excellent round winner, but he's not going to be the most sensational watch in terms of what you're going to get action wise. Now, he did just totally demolish Josh Padley in 9 rounds, but Padley was a late replacement for what was supposed to be a fight against Floyd Schofield, who pulled out the week of the fight because he was sick. Floyd Schofield just returned to the ring. I mean, you saw that. He just stopped Tevin Farmer in the 1st round. I attended that Jake Paul versus Chavez Jr. fight, but Floyd Schofield looked brilliant in that 1st round demolition of Tevin Farmer, who's otherwise very durable. Ask William Zepeda, who's coming off 2 consecutive fights against Tevin Farmer. Both of those fights were razor thin decisions. One of them, Zepeda got dropped, and then won a 10-round split decision. And then in the rematch, Zepeda got off to a really good start, was dominating more or less in the first half of the fight, and then Tevin Farmer rallied big time in the second half of the fight. I thought he had Zepeda badly hurt towards the end of the fight, like in the 11th, 12th round. And it's usually Zepeda who starts turning up the volume when you get into the middle and then late rounds. Although before those two fights against Farmer, his last few fights were looking scary, and how quickly he destroyed Mercito Hesta, stopping him in the 6th, stopped Maxie Hughes in the 4th round, stopped Giovanni Cabrera in the 3rd round. These guys weren't even coming close to making it the 10 or 12 round distance. So Zepeda is usually the one where, yeah, you might be able to outbox him for a round, 2 rounds, like Giovanni Cabrera, who gave Pitbull Cruz a pretty competitive fight, went the distance with him. He outboxed William Zepeda in the 1st round. Mercito Hesta looked pretty good in the very beginning, in the early couple of rounds against Zepeda. But the question is, can you then do that again in the 3rd round, 4th round? And Zepeda will not stop throwing 80 plus punches around, mixing up the attack high and low. And he's a southpaw. So this Stevenson versus Zepeda fight, southpaw versus southpaw. And Zepeda's not just putting his head down throwing punches. No, he's more skilled than that. He is taking angles. I feel like that part of his game is underrated. Also, when somebody circles out to try to get away from him, because unless you're going to stand there in the pocket and start exchanging with him like Tevin Farmer did, quite frankly, especially in that first fight, I feel like he kind of gave a little bit of a blueprint there, but we'll get back to that. But if you're not going to exchange with him and then you circle out, William Zepeda will stick that long right jab out there to close the distance, close range, step in with his feet, and be right back in position, cutting you off and throwing punches relentlessly again. I'm telling you, this guy's an absolute nightmare if you haven't figured out a way to slow his activity down. So, is Shakur Stevenson up for that task? We know that he's got a masterful jab. You know, he's a great distance controller, range controller. He's a great counterpuncher. He, trains with some of the best, mentored by some of the best. He is supposed to be the sweet scientist between these two fighters, right? Again, the styles couldn't be any more different. But these are a couple questions that I have. How good is Shakur Stevenson going to be on the inside? Like, it's one thing to look at what Tevin Farmer did and say, well, if Tevin Farmer did it that well, then imagine how well Shakur Stevenson could do it. But styles make fights. Tevin Farmer was durable enough to take those body shots and to keep on dishing those counter punches and to punch with William Zepeda, even if he was getting hit by Zepeda's lefts, rights. I mean, look at how much Farmer got hit. Look, I was saying going into the fight with Floyd Schofield, I was wondering if those two fights against Zepeda maybe did something to Tevin Farmer where it would reduce his durability. Basically, he took so many shots and was so durable and was so determined to persevere against William Zepeda that maybe coming out of that, he's not as durable as he was coming into those two fights. But during those two fights, he took tons of punches. Yes, he did roll with a lot of them very skillfully, but he was absorbing a lot of shots up top. And again, he was getting splashed on to the body in both fights. Is Shakur Stevenson willing to take that type of incoming fire and stay in there, right? Not do this whole thing where when the guy pursues, you jump back, right? No, I'm saying when he pursues, you step into the jaws of the lion, so to speak, and you start firing back as he's pursuing. Is Shakur Stevenson going to be willing to adopt something like that? Now, I think that in order to beat William Zepeda, you've got to back him up. I don't think that this whole move around the ring thing works. Like, I don't think Devin Haney's strategy against Jose Ramirez would have worked against William Zepeda. I think Zepeda at this stage of his career cuts the ring off better. He's got way more volume, and he's going to continue to push and flush you out, further out, further out. If you're trying to do this whole move, you can't catch me, cat and mouse game. I don't think that that is the recipe for success against William Zepeda. I saw Giovanni Cabrera try it. I saw Maxie Hughes try it. They just got flushed out, broken down, pummeled to the body, stopped pretty quickly. How is Shakur Stevenson going to fight this? Because I don't think that in a tit for tat at range boxing match with William Zepeda, you're going to be able to reduce his volume that much. If anything, I think you're going to have to stop him because you're not going to deter him from throwing punches. I don't think he's the type who will be sitting on the outside eating jabs and trying to figure out how to get in there while he's losing round after round. I don't see that playing out. Another question that I have, What is the state of Shakur Stevenson's hand? The hand that gets injured in multiple fights, the one that he says prevented him from throwing more punches against Edwin De Los Santos, the one that looked like it was visibly injured against Josh Padley as he continues to throw with that hand. Is his hand about to be compromised in any way against William Zepeda? Because if so, it might be a rough night for Shakur Stevenson, because he's gonna have to keep on throwing with that hand. He's not gonna be able to do the. Remember when Floyd Mayweather used to injure his hand in fights? And there were some fights earlier in his career before he had that big blow up moment against Oscar De La Hoya. Before that, he had certain fights where he would injure one or sometimes both hands. And sometimes he would kind of pepper with one, not throw the other at all. I've seen a couple Floyd fights where he was reduced to using one hand for several rounds. Tank Davis kind of got reduced to doing that against Isaac Pitbull Cruz for several rounds. I don't think that Shakur Stevenson can win a fight against William Zepeda like that. He's gonna have to let both of those hands go. Not only that, but he's gonna have to throw a lot of punches. Because here's the thing. I think that the two most likely outcomes of this fight are either William Zepeda via decision or Shakur Stevenson via stoppage. I know a lot of people are probably going to go Shakur Stevenson via decision. I'm just having trouble seeing Shakur Stevenson win those rounds and William Zepeda not doggedly try to do something about it to the point where you're going to have to stop him. And William Zepeda doesn't have the best chin. That's another aspect to consider. I mean, he got dropped against Tevin Farmer in the first fight. Again, he got hurt against Tevin Farmer late in the second fight. He got clocked cleanly against Giovanni Cabrera in the first round, but he actually took that one pretty well. He got buzzed a bit against Jojo Diaz in a fight that William Zepeda was otherwise whooping Jojo Diaz's behind throughout the fight. Like, Diaz took hundreds and hundreds of punches in that one, but William Zepeda did get buzzed, did get kind of rocked and stunned in that fight. I remember him losing a few rounds to Rene Alvarado. I thought that one was competitive, especially in the first half of the fight. So William Zepeda, I mean, he tests your durability, but I do think that he is stoppable, especially with how many punches he gives you to counter. Now, you're again gonna have to step into the jaws of the lion. It's not for the faint of heart. So I think Shakur is gonna have to throw a lot here, because I don't think that a little bit will go a long way in deterring William Zepeda, unless he makes this look like Floyd Mayweather versus Diego Corrales. If he does that, that will be masterful, and that will be one of those king-making performances for Shakur Stevenson. Like, even doubters are gonna have to like give it up at that point if he's able to just catch William Zepeda coming in, drop him, and eventually stop him. But otherwise, I could see Shakur Stevenson trying to counter, trying to find those opportunities, but that the torrential downpour of volume is too much to where Shakur Stevenson might be landing some of the cleaner punches, but William Zepeda could still win some of those rounds on sheer volume. I could see that being a problem in Shakur Stevenson's otherwise tried and true method of winning rounds. But I think he is down for the task. I think that he will open up with some volume here. I think he is going to try to go for the kill. Not that he's going to just come right at William Zepeda, but I think that he's going to at least do a pretty good job at standing his ground. And then if he starts landing effectively, he can start backing William Zepeda up. Like we've seen Zepeda backed up in different moments where he starts moving around and then he comes right back in for the attack, and then he sustains that attack. But I don't think that this is going to be a Shakur Stevenson moving all over the place thing. I don't think he's going to be like, whoa, hopping way out of range, moving laterally, using the whole ring, moving around the perimeters. Like, I don't think he's going to be super happy feet. I think that he's going to do a lot of stepping and sliding. Maybe in certain cases, yeah, he's going to get right out of range, even though William Zepeda is going to have the slight height advantage, like 1 inch height advantage, like a 1 inch reach advantage, both close, but William Zepeda has the edge slightly on both. But I don't think that Shakur Stevenson is going to be flying all over the place. Again, I think he's going to more or less be right there, but I think he's going to be willing to meet William Zepeda more or less at the line of scrimmage, Not that it's going to be a phone booth style fight, but I think he's going to make those punches count when they start getting into some of those violent exchanges. I wouldn't be surprised if Shakur Stevenson actually drops Zepeda early in this one, and it's like a whoa, damn, because again, there will be opportunities there. Yes, you're going to be eating a lot, and Shakur Stevenson is going to be eating some punches here. I don't see any way around that. If he doesn't, then it might be a performance of the year type of performance if he's able to swim without getting wet here. Because again, 80 plus punches around. I mean, you're going to get hit with a lot of this stuff, but I think that he's going to make his punches count, where William Zepeda is going to get caught super flush. Sometimes he does, again, go head over skis with some of his punches. I think Shakur is going to be looking for some of those opportunities. And even in between those bigger opportunities, I think he's actually going to be going to William Zepeda's body. We talk about Zepeda's attack to the body. I think Shakur Stevenson's going to get his to the body as well. I think that's going to cause Zepeda to be even less guarded up top. So when Zepeda starts throwing those 2-1s or 1-2s, southpaw stance, right? Jab, left hand, and just letting his punches go, I think he's going to be even more vulnerable because of the work that Shakur Stevenson did to the body. And I'm going to take Shakur Stevenson here. I think he's going to have a great performance. I think he's going to shut a lot of people up here. And much of that reason is because some of the guys that he's beaten, Artem Haratunian, Robson Conceição, Oscar Valdez, Jeremiah Nakathila. I'm naming some of the guys who he's beaten by decision outside of Edwin De Los Santos. Again, that one is almost hardly worth mentioning because of how much of a stalemate standoff it was. But those other guys, at some point, they stopped pursuing Shakur Stevenson super aggressively. They're like, hey, okay, I've gotten hit with so many clean. I get the picture. Let's just ride this out. You're the man. You know, you were the better man tonight. I'm going to take my L via decision. Let's move on. I don't see William Zepeda doing that. I think he's going to keep his foot on the gas, and I think he's going to keep running into punches, hard punches. I think Shakur Stevenson's going to stop William Zepeda late. Stoppage, I think it's going to be something like round 9 through round 11. But again, I wouldn't be surprised if somehow Shakur Stevenson's able to stop him in the first half of the fight and create one of those shh moments. I wouldn't be surprised, but I think that Zepeda's actually going to be tough to handle in the first few rounds. And I do think he's going to start picking up some momentum going into like the 4th and 5th. But I think Shakur Stevenson's going to start demonstrating that even though he doesn't have the reputation of a hard puncher, that these punches will be landing hard and cleanly, and they're going to be having a big impact on William Zepeda. And I think that, again, Zepeda's going to be, he's going to be deterred, but he's going to be stubbornly undeterred at the same time, because he's going to keep on coming as Stevenson, and I think that's going to lead to him getting knocked out, or at least TKO stopped, where he gets dropped once, maybe twice, and then beaten along the ropes, and maybe the ref jumps in, something like that. I think this is going to be the best performance of Shakur Stevenson's career. I've got Stevenson via late knockout, late stoppage over William Zepeda. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on this one. This is the lightweight division. I mean, if Shakur Stevenson stops Zepeda or even beats Zepeda, is Floyd Schofield going to be the next up? How are they going to work that out? Like, what's Floyd Schofield going to do next? I think that's on a lot of people's mind. But Shakur Stevenson, I don't see him having a ton of success at 140, 147 if he's not a hard puncher at 135. Like, remember, he started at 126. He's not like these other guys who start off at like 130, 135 and then do their thing at welterweight eventually and have certain fights at 154 if they could kind of build themselves into stars and have these like 154 fights. I don't think Shakur is going to get that big. I think he's closer to like maybe one division higher than Lomachenko, so maybe 140. I always looked at 135 as being Lomachenko's physical ceiling. I think Shakur's might be 140, but 135 seems like it's the place he's supposed to be, at least right now. I would be curious to see if they're able to make any sort of unification fights, regardless of who wins Stevenson versus Zepeda. Remember, Keyshawn Davis is no longer a champ in this division. You've got Raymond Murataya, who actually has the IBF belt, which was the one that Vasily Lomachenko vacated when he retired. And then you've got Gervonta Tank Davis with the WBA belt, Shakur Stevenson with the WBC, and then I think we're getting Abdullah Mason versus Sam Noakes for the vacant WBO belt. That's the one that Keyshawn Davis had. So I think that's how that one's going to be resolved. But yeah, stay tuned. I mean, lightweight division is popping. It's not as crazy as it was a couple of years ago, but we weren't getting a lot of the fights we wanted either. So hopefully that changes with this generation of lightweights. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on Shakur Stevenson versus William Zepeda. Again, this is one of the funnest fights and just most interesting clashes of styles that we have on the fight calendar in 2025. So I can't wait for this one. Again, the card is stacked, but this is the fight for me. Let me know your thoughts on all this in the comments. Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you are into the fight talk. I'm Woog. Thanks for tuning in.